A sudden voice emerged as the professor's words grew harsh, casting the world into a whirlwind of dialogue. The lecture hall buzzed with excitement as students streamed in, some clutching notebooks while others juggled coffee cups. In the heart of Oregon, Whitmore University stood as a beacon of knowledge, embracing the rhythm of an unremarkable Tuesday. In room 302, a cultural criticism course was on the brink of beginning, led by the intriguing Professor Eleanor Grayson, a figure who inspired both reverence and debate. Grayson, celebrated for her candid views and bold critiques, had a remarkable talent for questioning societal norms by drawing on the lives of public figures as her canvas. Amidst the sea of eager faces, the young man in the third row was a figure almost lost to the crowd, his presence subtle yet intriguing. Barron Trump, a figure of height and grace, carried himself with a calmness that masked his keen awareness of the world around him. He slipped through the shadows, a silent presence in the tapestry of life, unseen by all. Clad in jeans and a plain hoodie, he kept his head slightly bowed, as though he were weaving through the crowd, seeking to blend into the background. His presence was woven into the fabric of fate. Barron had enrolled at the university using a false identity, shrouding himself in a veil of secrecy. He yearned for a life of simplicity, where his thoughts could roam freely, unshackled by the weight of his lineage, even amidst the shadows cast by his family's stature. With an air of authority, Professor Grayson stepped to the podium, her mere presence quieting the chatter as the students found their places in anticipation. "Good morning, everyone," she proclaimed, her voice resonating with assurance and grace. "Today, we embark on a journey to uncover the essence of public image, the way it is shaped, crafted, and at times turned into a tool of power. Furthermore, we shall weave intangible instances from the world around us." The Baron's face remained impassive as he shifted in his chair. He felt a stirring unease, a whisper of foreboding in the air, as he stood on the precipice of the unknown. Yet, the unfolding events would rattle both the room and him in ways that no one could have foreseen. Professor Eleanor Grayson was more than just a lecturer. She was an unstoppable whirlwind. She had built a name for herself through her candid examinations of societal hypocrisy, stemming from her extensive career in cultural analysis and her doctorate from Stanford. Her lectures often captivated audiences, sparking widespread sharing as both insightful critiques and contentious expressions. Her classes brimmed with eager students, all buzzing with anticipation for the intellectual fireworks she had promised to ignite. Today seemed to unfold just like any other day. Grayson deftly unraveled the intricate tapestry woven between the public images of powerful individuals and the hidden truths that lingered beneath the surface as she commenced her tale. Her words flowed with intention and precision, drawing everyone in with their allure. Yet, it wasn't long before her demeanor shifted, and she unveiled a name that instantly enchanted the Baron. For instance, she pointed out Melania Trump, who moved across the stage with the confidence of someone completely in command. A woman is celebrated for her grace and poise, yet what does this reveal about the values we collectively uphold? Do we truly value only the surface, where beauty and quietness are hailed as qualities deserving of praise? In the classroom, a soft whisper floated through the air. A few souls nodded in agreement, while others cast wary looks at one another. Barron felt a subtle constriction in his chest, yet he kept his face devoid of any emotion. Grayson pressed on, her voice laced with scorn. What of the depth of intelligence, the weight of contribution, and the power of influence that arise from true substance rather than superficiality? Is this the narrative we aspire to share with young women today? Barron stared intently at the desk before him, his thoughts swirling like a tempest. He had ventured into the lecture, driven by a genuine curiosity for the world of knowledge and thoughtful conversation. Yet, a feeling of unease began to creep in around him. He didn't reject the idea completely. Instead, it struck a chord within him, echoing his own experiences. His classmates hung on every word, some bursting into laughter at Grayson's clever jokes. Her words carried a weight that commanded attention, drawing the audience closer to her insightful critique. Yet, this was not just a lesson for the Baron. It was a true test of his mettle. He found himself grappling with the weight of a transgression, unsure if he could simply let it slide into the shadows of forgetfulness. Professor Grayson continued to weave his narrative, not concluding his remarks at that point. She revisited Melania Trump, observing her every move with keen interest. From the notorious jacket emblazoned with the phrase, "I really don't care, do you?" to the carefully chosen words she delivered in her public addresses. Her incisive observations held the students in the lecture hall spellbound, drawing them closer with rapt attention. Grayson proclaimed, with a flourish, that she embodies a symbol. Yet, what does it signify? From a time long past when women were often relegated to silence, overshadowed by the commanding presence of men? Is it permissible to radiate charm without expressing anything of substance? The joyous laughter of a few pupils danced through the air, harmonizing with the soft murmur of agreement from their peers. As Grayson deepened her critique, the atmosphere in the room grew increasingly electric. She continued, her voice laced with a teasing tone, "It is fascinating how easily we mistake quietness for grace and compliance for class. What message are we passing down to the next generation?" Beneath the desk, the Baron's hands were tightly clenched into fists, a silent storm brewing within him. The professor's words were not just aimed at a single individual. They also cast a shadow upon the figure's mother, weaving a narrative of blame that extended beyond the surface. He had witnessed Melania face the weight of judgment and scorn for many years. People drew upon her image, her history as a model, or her way of speaking as proof for their existing beliefs. Yet to him, she transcended mere labels. She embodied intelligence and a fierce sense of privacy, a guardian of her family, standing strong with a silent resilience. Grayson's words seemed to strike at the very heart of the values his mother held dear, rather than merely targeting her as an individual. She pressed on, her tone laced with irony. What if we honored women who truly impacted the world rather than those who merely donned high-fashion attire? Laughter erupted from the class, and Barron felt a sudden, powerful flutter in his chest. He embarked on a journey to unveil the expressions of his companions. Some found it entertaining, while others showed little interest, yet none seemed to question the imbalance of the argument. Yet he chose to remain silent. In that moment, he found himself grappling with a swirl of emotions, unsure if his unease stemmed from anxiety, a deep-seated respect for the professor, or the weight of navigating a space where his family name might not be embraced. Yet, a spark of resolve flared to life within. Yet Grayson continued her comments, and Barron's determination to respond grew stronger with the escalating intensity of her words. Grayson's voice flowed like a river, each word cutting through the silence with precision. With a subtle smirk, she faced the class and remarked, "Let us not forget the irony. Here stands a woman whose public utterances are few, yet they include the phrase 'be best,' a slogan so grammatically peculiar that it raises questions about either her understanding or her concern." The classroom erupted once more, laughter cascading through the air with even more intensity than before. Barron felt a warm rush spread across his cheeks, accompanied by the relentless thumping of his heart against his ribs. It was not anger. Instead, it was a deeper, more complex feeling. A tale of unmet expectation. Fury. Upon discovering that Professor Grayson was using her platform to belittle someone who couldn't stand up for themselves, despite her remarkable intellect. His mind was a tapestry woven with the lessons imparted by his parents. Stay calm, avoid raising tensions, and let your deeds convey your message more powerfully than your speech. This was a moment that called for words to dance and weave through the air. For years, Barron had chosen to remain in the shadows, letting his family shoulder the weight of public scrutiny, opinions, and at times, outright animosity. In that room, he was enveloped by a profound sense of duty, a calling that resonated not just for his mother, but for the very essence of fairness itself. With a deep breath, he let the air escape, his hands steadfastly resting on the desk. With a slow and deliberate motion, he lifted his hand into the air. It unfolded with a calmness that felt intentional, as if the very essence of time had chosen to linger and savor each moment. As the professor's eyes sharpened upon him, she halted her words, caught in a moment of unexpected recognition. "Is that true?" she asked with a sharp edge to her voice, as though the interruption had ruffled her feathers. Barron rose, his motions a blend of elegance and restraint. As the hush enveloped the room, every gaze fixated on him, anticipation hanging in the air. A tangible curiosity had taken the place of the laughter that had faded away. His commanding presence seemed to draw attention, even though no one had yet acknowledged him. His voice resonated with a calm assurance, each word carefully chosen and articulated as he remarked, "I believe you are overlooking something significant." There was no hint of defensiveness or anger in his manner. Instead, it exuded a serene confidence that drew others closer, eager to listen. As his words began to cascade, it became clear that Barron Trump was not just standing up for his mother, he was reshaping the entire narrative. The room resonated with the steady, unwavering cadence of the Baron. "You speak of my mother as though she were just a reflection, a mere shadow of the perfect figure that society wishes to see. Yet, have you ever taken a moment to reflect on the stories of the individuals that breathe life into the headlines?" The sudden interruption took the professor by surprise, making him flinch in response. A handful of students shared fleeting looks, their expressions a mix of curiosity and hesitation regarding where the dialogue might lead. Yet, the Baron pressed on, his presence unwavering, a blend of calm and command in every step. "In a humble Slovenian village, my mother grew up amidst the struggles of her family's poverty. With unwavering determination, she navigated the challenges of a society that judged her for her looks, speech, and origins. In the end, she emerged victorious. She embarked on a journey as a model, mastered 5 languages, and ultimately ascended to the role of First Lady of the United States. Her drive stemmed not from a desire for fame or power, but from a deep commitment to her family and her values." In the heart of the chamber, a soft whisper floated through the air. Some students squirmed in their seats, while others leaned in, entranced by the surprising depth of his words. Barron's gaze was locked onto Professor Grayson, his voice steady and resolute. "You claim she embodies outdated ideals, yet perhaps the real concern lies not with her at all. It may be the way we, as a community, decide what deserves to be honored. While you may find fault in her quietness, could it not be said that there exists a profound strength in choosing one's words with care and sharing thoughts only when they hold true meaning?" The room fell into a profound hush, the students wrapped in the heavy embrace of his words, as if a thick blanket had settled over them. Grayson, celebrated for her swift comebacks, seemed briefly taken aback. Barron continued, "And let us not pretend that public figures such as my mother do not incur costs for their actions. Each smile, gesture, and misstep is examined, mocked, and analyzed by those who have never walked in their shoes. We rush to point fingers at others, yet we take our time to reflect on the cost of existing beneath such scrutiny." He took a moment, letting his words linger in the air, inviting the audience to drink them in. For the first time, the students beheld not just a classmate, but a soul weighed down by a tapestry of experiences that stretched beyond their understanding. Yet, the Baron still had more to weave into his tapestry of creation. The unfolding events would not merely pose a challenge to the professor, but would also invite all those gathered to reflect deeply on their own viewpoints. The room seemed to be suspended in a moment, as if all present were holding their breath in unison. Then, the stillness was broken by a soft rustle of papers, followed by the hushed tones of quiet responses. Some students sat with eyes wide open, frozen in surprise, while others shared glances that danced between admiration and unease. Barron's words sliced through the chaos, unexpected and sharp, capturing the attention of all present. Professor Grayson, a master of composure, found himself momentarily adrift. A fleeting moment of doubt flickered through her confidence, but she quickly found her footing once more. She expressed that those are compelling arguments, her tone steady yet laced with a hint of defensiveness. Yet, can we not question the actions of those in the spotlight, especially when their decisions ripple through the lives of countless individuals? Barron's expression held a calm demeanor as he inclined his head in acknowledgement. "It is acceptable to reflect on deeds, yet your deeds are not mere examination. They are mockery. It is easy to judge someone by their looks, yet truly understanding their whole story requires much more effort. What if we turned our focus to the values that shape the image, rather than casting judgment on the individual?" The professor began to speak, her lips parting with intent, yet a moment's pause suggested she was weighing her words carefully. At first, a handful of students started to clap, their hesitant applause slowly growing in strength and fervor. As the sound of clapping filled the air, More and more voices joined in, creating a wave of appreciation that swept through the room. The sound spoke volumes beyond simple approval. It was a release of pent-up energy, a recognition that something remarkable had just unfolded. A young scholar seated at the back of the room lifted his hand, eager to share his thoughts. He realized that he had never viewed the situation from that perspective. Perhaps we rush too quickly to conclusions about those we have yet to meet. Another character stepped into the scene. Indeed, it is all too easy to cast blame. Yet, we often overlook the truth that public figures are, at their core, just like the rest of us human beings with their own struggles and stories. The echoes of Barron's words were clear and undeniable. With a quiet presence at the podium, Grayson surveyed the room with a thoughtful glance. The shift in the atmosphere was unmistakable. What began as a lecture transformed into a lively dialogue, an authentic and unrestrained sharing of thoughts that took her by surprise. Barron sat with an air of tranquility, his true self now laid bare. He held back a smile, resisting the allure of the spotlight. Instead, he seemed lost in thought, a touch reflective as the applause faded away. Yet, this moment transcended mere applause. The spotlight shone brightly on the lasting influence that Barron's reply would cast upon everyone gathered there. The lecture came to an end, yet the vibrant energy in the room lingered, echoing like a gentle aftershock. The scene lingered in the minds of the students as they gradually collected their belongings, whispering softly to one another. For many, it was a moment when they beheld someone daring to engage with Professor Grayson, not in a spirit of conflict, but in a way that felt profoundly transformative. Barron quietly packed his bag, his gaze lowered, as if lost in thought. A handful of students ventured forth, their hearts pounding with uncertainty. "Greetings," that was. "Brave," one of them proclaimed. Her voice carried a deep sense of admiration. "Your insights have profoundly shaped the way I view things." With a subtle smile, he acknowledged with a nod. He kept his thoughts to himself, revealing little of what lay beneath the surface. He remained absent from the spotlight, untouched by the praise that surrounded him. His aim was not to win an argument. The aim was to steer the dialogue in a new direction. His triumph was clear, reflected in the hushed conversations that enveloped him. Meanwhile, Professor Grayson stood at the podium, scanning her notes with the intensity of one searching for a beacon of certainty. Though a handful of students ventured forth with their questions, she seemed to carry a weight of unease that was unusual for her. As she stepped out of the lecture hall, her face bore a look of deep thought, not one of victory. The impact of that moment reached far beyond the walls of the classroom. Whispers of the exchange started to weave their way through the tapestry of social media later that day. A student recorded a snippet of Barron's response and shared it online, accompanied by the caption, "When the quietest person in the room changes everything." The clip quickly gained traction, sparking lively discussions in the comments about the significance of standing up for one's beliefs, public perception, and respect. Across the campus, students gathered to share their thoughts on the unfolding events that had taken place. Did Grayson behave in a way that was not suitable? Did Barron have a valid point in his claim? At long last, the focus shifted away from idle chatter and inconsequential affairs. The narrative centered on the significance of engaging in profound conversations about humanism, judgment, and values. Even after the lecture had come to an end, Professor Grayson, known for her unwavering determination, found herself replaying Barron's words in her mind. She paused to reflect on her notes, gathering her thoughts as she readied herself for the class that awaited her that evening. A certain spark in her usual approach seemed to be missing, almost as if it had lost its vitality. In a moment of clarity, she uncovered a vital truth that had been overshadowed by her relentless critiques of public figures. Compassion stands as a testament to strength, not weakness. It is a valuable treasure. Yet, this was just the dawn of a grand tale. A single moment in the lecture hall was poised to ripple outward, reaching far beyond the walls of the university. Once more, the lecture hall buzzed with vibrant energy a week later. Yet, on this occasion, the energy felt uniquely different. The seats brimmed with students who had come early, their voices low as they shared whispers about the clash from the week before. As Professor Grayson stood at the podium, his usual commanding presence was softened by an unexpected sense of humility. She began the lecture by weaving a narrative about the event that had surely left its mark. Within these walls, a remarkable tale unfolded just last week. She began the conversation with a calm and thoughtful tone in her voice. A challenge arose that led me to reflect deeply on my teaching methods and the validity of my arguments. My gratitude extends to all of you, but there is one among you who deserves special mention. For a fleeting moment, she caught sight of Barron. Gratitude fills my heart. Her unexpected honesty held the room in rapt attention, rendering it utterly still. She insisted that while criticism holds great importance, understanding is just as vital. In the absence of empathy, one cannot truly engage with or scrutinize the fabric of societal norms. I failed to offer that understanding to the focus of my critique last week. This brings me a sense of sorrow. Barron, comfortably settled in his familiar spot, offered a subtle nod of acknowledgement. He needed no grand display. The shift in tone was adequate. Indeed, the happenings of that day extended far beyond the confines of the classroom. A broader conversation was sparked on campus about how we engage with public figures, share ideas, and connect with one another. Students embarked on a journey of inquiry, questioning not just the topics of their debates, but also the very methods they employed to engage with them. In the realm of social media, the importance of equity and respect, particularly when confronted with criticism, became a focal point of many engaging discussions. Life unfolded gently for Barron, just as he wished. He returned to his studies, seeking to limit his engagement with the media. Yet, his deeds had carved a lasting mark. He had unwittingly woven a lesson that transcended the boundaries of mere conversation, a tale that imparts the significance of upholding your beliefs with poise and honor instead of resorting to anger or defensiveness. The tale delivered a powerful lesson. It takes bravery to stand up for compassion and justice in a world that often rushes to judge and struggles to understand. Respect does not weaken critical thought. It fortifies the narrative by highlighting that compassion can be embraced instead of scorn, even amidst discord. The message that the students who witnessed that moment held close as the semester progressed, and the ripple effect spread far beyond the confines of Whitmore University. Thus, when you find yourself facing a moment of judgment, pause to reflect and discern whether you are questioning the idea or diminishing the person. If this tale struck a chord with you, kindly consider liking, sharing, and subscribing to uncover more captivating stories. Let us keep the conversation flowing.